You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Hashing is the process of transforming data of any size into a fixed-length value through a mathematical algorithm. The primary purpose of hashing is integrity verification, ensuring that data has not been altered, whether by accident or malicious tampering. When two identical inputs produce the same hash, but even the smallest change in input leads to a completely different hash, it becomes a reliable way to detect modification. For learners, hashing is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for proving that information remains intact from its original state to the point of verification. Hash functions are designed as one-way operations, meaning they are easy to compute but practically impossible to reverse. Given a piece of data, creating its hash is quick. However, starting with a hash and trying to recover the original input is computationally infeasible. This property ensures that hashes serve as secure fingerprints of data, rather than a substitute for the data itself. The non-reversible nature of hashing makes it ideal for storing sensitive values like passwords in ways that attackers cannot directly exploit, even if they gain access to the stored hash. Common hashing algorithms include families like SHA, secure hash algorithm, with SHA-256 and SHA-3 being widely adopted in modern systems. Earlier versions such as SHA-1 and MD5 are now considered broken because researchers have demonstrated feasible ways to create collisions. The evolution of these algorithms illustrates how cryptographic strength must adapt to advances in computing and attack methods. Learners should recognize that while hashing is conceptually straightforward, the choice of algorithm is critical to ensuring its reliability against modern threats. Collision resistance is a property that makes a hash function secure. It means it is computationally infeasible for two different inputs to produce the same hash output. Without collision resistance, attackers could manipulate one input to create the same hash as another, undermining integrity checks. For example, a fraudulent file with the same hash as a legitimate one would bypass verification. Strong algorithms like SHA-256 provide practical collision resistance, ensuring that hashes continue to serve as trustworthy fingerprints of digital content. Salting is the practice of adding a unique, random value to data before hashing it, particularly in password storage. Without salts, attackers could use pre-computed tables known as rainbow tables to quickly reverse common hashes. Salts ensure that even if two users have the same password, their hashes are different because each one includes a unique salt value. Salting makes large-scale pre-computed attacks infeasible, forcing attackers to compute hashes individually for each target, dramatically slowing their progress. Unique salts are the strongest approach, as each user or item receives its own random salt value. Global salts, by contrast, apply the same value across all items, which reduces effectiveness because once the global salt is known, attackers can still pre-compute hashes for all entries. Unique salts maximize protection by ensuring every entry is distinct, while global salts provide some protection but are considered weaker. For learners, this distinction highlights why careful implementation matters as much as the concept itself. Key stretching is another technique that strengthens password storage. Instead of hashing a password once, algorithms apply the hash function many times, increasing the computational effort required to verify each guess. This makes brute force attacks slower and more expensive for attackers. Key stretching can also use memory-hard functions that demand significant system resources, raising the cost of attacks further. Conceptually, stretching shifts the balance of power. For users, a delay of milliseconds is tolerable, but for attackers trying billions of guesses, it becomes crippling. Digital signatures build on hashing but go further. A simple hash can prove data integrity, but it cannot confirm who created the data. Digital signatures use cryptographic keys to tie data to a specific individual or organization. By signing a hash of the data with a private key, the sender proves authorship, and anyone with the corresponding public key can verify it. This elevates hashes into mechanisms of authentication and accountability, essential for secure communications, contracts, and software distribution. Asymmetric keys are central to digital signatures. The private key, held securely by the signer, generates the signature, while the public key is distributed widely for verification. This separation ensures that signatures can be validated by many parties without exposing the signer's ability to create new ones. Learners should understand that asymmetric keys bring trust to digital signatures by enabling widespread verification while keeping authorship under strict control. Digital signatures provide both integrity and non-repudiation. Integrity comes from the hash, which ensures the data was not altered. Non-repudiation means the signer cannot deny creating the signature later, because only their private key could have produced it. This dual assurance makes digital signatures legally and operationally significant, underpinning contracts, secure email, and authenticated software. They provide confidence not only in the content, but also in the accountability of the sender. Message authentication codes, or MACs, are another form of keyed integrity check. Unlike digital signatures, which use asymmetric keys, MACs rely on symmetric keys shared between parties. A MAC is generated by hashing data together with a secret key, ensuring that only parties with the key can validate it. This provides integrity and authentication but lacks non-repudiation, since both parties share the same key. For learners, MACs are an important contrast to signatures. They are efficient and useful for closed systems, but operate on a different trust model. Taken together, hashing, salting, and signatures are essential tools for integrity and authentication. Hashing provides fingerprints of data, salting strengthens password storage against precomputation, and digital signatures add accountability through cryptographic proof of authorship. Message authentication codes offer another layer of keyed assurance in shared systems. For learners, the core insight is that these primitives form the backbone of how modern systems ensure that data is genuine, unaltered, and tied to the identities of those who create it or own it. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Salt storage practices are critical to security. Salts should be generated randomly for each password, stored alongside the hash in the authentication database, and never reused across users. They do not need to be secret, but they must remain unique. Lifecycle considerations include refreshing salts when passwords are changed, ensuring they are large enough to resist pre-computation, and storing them in formats compatible with authentication systems. Poor salt management weakens otherwise strong hashing schemes, while proper practices ensure resilience against large-scale brute force attacks. bcrypt, script, and PBKDF2 are well-known key-stretching algorithms. bcrypt applies multiple rounds of hashing with built-in salt handling, slowing brute force attacks. Script adds a memory-hard component, requiring significant resources for each guess, which raises costs for attackers with specialized hardware. PBKDF2 is widely standardized, applying thousands of iterations of hashing to increase complexity. All three approaches aim to make password cracking impractical, even if attackers obtain the hash database. Learners should see these as practical implementations of stretching, designed to balance security with system performance. Verifying digital signatures follows a predictable process. The recipient takes the received data and computes its hash, then uses the sender's public key to decrypt the digital signature. If the decrypted signature matches the computed hash, the signature is valid. This proves both that the data has not been altered and that the sender's private key created the signature. Verification is straightforward but powerful, giving organizations confidence in the authenticity of documents, messages, or software. For learners, this process demonstrates the practical utility of asymmetric cryptography in everyday trust. Knowing when to use hashing, encryption, or signing is essential. Hashing is best for integrity verification, such as confirming files have not been altered. Encryption is used for confidentiality, protecting data from unauthorized access. Signing is for authentication and non-repudiation, proving authorship and integrity simultaneously. These tools are not interchangeable but complementary. Misusing them, for example, storing passwords with encryption instead of hashing, can lead to weaker systems. For learners, the lesson is to align the tool with the security objective. It is critical to select modern, secure hash algorithms. Older functions like MD5 and SHA-1 are deprecated because researchers have demonstrated practical collisions. Modern systems rely on SHA-256, SHA-3, or newer algorithms designed for resistance against known attack techniques. Choosing weak algorithms undermines all the benefits of hashing, exposing systems to manipulation. Learners should understand that cryptographic strength degrades over time, and that maintaining security requires migrating to stronger algorithms as threats evolve. Hash-based message authentication is commonly used in APIs to ensure that requests are genuine. A secret key is combined with request parameters to generate a keyed hash, which is then verified by the receiving system. This prevents attackers from tampering with API calls or replaying them, as they cannot forge the keyed hash without knowing the secret. This approach, often referred to as HMAC, hash-based message authentication code, balances efficiency and assurance in environments where performance is critical. Poor hashing implementations create vulnerabilities that attackers exploit. Rainbow tables, for example, are pre-computed databases of hashes for common passwords. If salts are absent or predictable, rainbow tables can quickly reveal original values. Table attacks highlight why salting and stretching are mandatory for secure password systems. Without them, even strong hash algorithms may be broken in practice. For learners, this emphasizes that cryptographic design is as much about implementation as mathematics. Integrity monitoring relies heavily on hashing for file verification. Security tools compute hashes of critical system files and compare them to known good values. If a file is altered, its hash will differ, signaling tampering or corruption. This technique underpins many intrusion detection systems and digital forensics processes. Hashing provides the ability to detect even subtle, unauthorized changes, making it one of the simplest yet most effective tools for maintaining system integrity. Key protection is central to the trustworthiness of digital signatures. Even the strongest algorithms fail if private keys are exposed, poorly stored, or mismanaged. Private keys must be guarded with encryption, hardware security modules, or access restrictions to prevent misuse. Compromised keys undermine non-repudiation, as signatures could be forged. For learners, this highlights that cryptographic assurance depends not only on algorithms but also on disciplined handling of key material. Hashing and salting remain critical for building secure password systems. By combining random salts with stretching algorithms, organizations ensure that stored password databases resist brute force attacks even if compromised. This approach protects users from the widespread consequences of breaches, where stolen password hashes are targeted at scale. Secure password storage demonstrates the practical importance of cryptographic primitives in protecting everyday user accounts. In summary, hashing, salting, and digital signatures are essential primitives for ensuring integrity and authentication. Hashing verifies that data is unchanged, salting prevents large-scale password attacks, and signatures tie data to accountable identities. Together with MACs, key stretching, and integrity monitoring, these tools form the foundation of trust in digital systems. For learners, the message is clear. These primitives are not optional. They are indispensable for building secure, reliable, and auditable infrastructures in cybersecurity. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.